The first thing you want to do to make your two-dimensional hearts look more three-dimensional and give them form is you're going to outline your heart in Sharpie. This is just going to separate it from the background. Our paint is transparent. That means we can see through it. So right now we see our background. So we just want to separate it a little bit. So move your heart however it feels more comfortable. Your paper to outline. I'm always more comfortable when I'm pulling a marker or a pencil toward me. It's just easier. So take your time all the way around. You really want to try not to have any white space show. So get it right on that paint line. Okay, next step is you're going to use some chalk. You're going to use some black chalk, and that's going to create your shadow. Your light source is coming from this side. So it's going to hit this side of the heart. That's why this has the highlight, and then this part does as well. It's kind of hitting this and this area. That means your shadow is the opposite. So if your light source is over here, this whole side right here is shaded, and a little bit over here too, and then down here as well. And you can see that your highlight, even though this whole side over here is shaded, your highlight is kind of where there's an absence of your shadow. Okay, so for your chalk, you're just gonna very carefully, even though there's not a point on it, it's a square edge, you're gonna take like one of those corners and you're just going to, and I would just go over, and it's not the whole side here that you're gonna shade, you're gonna kind of start sort of at the top. And you're just gonna kind of work back and forth, being really careful that you don't go inside the heart. This is a shadow underneath your heart. So just really carefully work that space around it, right up to the line, but not on your painted heart. You want to kind of go back and forth because you want a little bit of extra chalk there. So when you smear it, there's enough there to make your shadow a little bit bigger. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that, and then I'm gonna bounce over here, and I'm gonna go right to the middle top part of the heart and stop about right there. And I'm also going to shade down here. So really there's just kind of two areas. Remember, our light source is coming from this direction. So right here, and it also hits right there. Okay. You're just going to smear it and blend it just with your finger. So we don't want to get it on our painted heart. So the best way to do that is just go side to side around the curve. And you can even, you don't have to stop right where you stop shading. You can kind of blend it a little bit so it doesn't look like there's a hard edge. And so just keep going around. If your hearts are pretty close together, you have to just, you know, if they're touching, then you don't want to, besides outlining, if you don't have enough room for the chalk, that's okay. But get as close as you can where they're not touching. But you just have to, when you're shading, you just have to be really careful because you do not want to get on any heart on the painted part. This is the outside, and you can even smear it a little bit more, however much you want to. It's starting to look more realistic, more like your heart has form, not just a flat painting. And then this area too. And you can kind of feel the edge of your painted, like where the paint stops. So you can kind of just kind of slide your finger right on the outside edge of that. You don't want to have any white space around your heart, like in between where you have your chalk line and where you're smooth. You don't want to have a space. You want the black to go all the way up to the heart, but you don't want the chalk on your heart. So you just have to really do it carefully and take your time. All right, now for the highlights. This is the chalk we are using for our highlights. I tried some regular white chalk. It didn't work as well as these colors do. So if you have a pink heart, or red, I would use the light pink chalk. You could also use orange perhaps for the red, but you just want a lighter color. So if you have green or oranges for your hearts, I would use yellow. Blue, there doesn't look like there's a light blue colored chalk, so you could still use yellow or pink, because as you can see here, pink, it looks kind of white. I use this color pink. So just pick a lighter color. It doesn't have to be the exact color that your heart is. So you can see here, I'm just gonna use yellow. And you probably wanna wipe off your finger. I'll have some wipes out in between the shadows and the highlights. I'm gonna have to be really careful here, but you do not want to get black on your heart when you're trying to do the highlights. So you're just going to you don't have to go right up to the edge. You do not have to go right up to the edge. You're just gonna go around this curve and around this curve. This is gonna go all the way down a little bit further. You can get it a little closer to the edge if you want. All right, I'm gonna have to smear it with a clean finger and then just do the same thing, but you want to just follow the curves. You want to accentuate that this is a heart that has form, it has curves, it's three-dimensional. You don't want to just go back and forth. That's gonna make it look more flat. You want to go around those curves. All right, there you go. So 2D hearts now look like they have form, like they're three-dimensional.